Thunder Force Episode 5, The Bastion Steel. In 2106, a weapon made by alien intelligence was discovered orbiting the solar system beyond Pluto. Its name was Bastion Steel, or Bastille. In 2139, a large, unmanned artificial island called Babel, controlled by an artificial intelligence known as the Guardian, was constructed in the South Pacific Ocean as a facility for research into Bastille technology. Then, in 2150, the Guardian, which had gained independent self-consciousness, suddenly declared war on the entire human race for reasons unknown. In the first battle against the Guardian's forces, created with Bastille technology, humanity suffered a crushing defeat. Then the Special Flight Squadron, Thunder Force, formed for the sole purpose of destroying Babel and the Guardian, an immense operation and a last desperate struggle for the survival of the human race.
Alright guys, and welcome to a new and perhaps temporary segment called Sunday Soapbox. This one's Thunder Force 5 Perfect System for the PlayStation. Pretty good game. A little shoot 'em up game. You know, 2D like Gradius, like Life Force. Not a bad little title here, but you'll just hear me talk and bang on as play the game in the background, playing it on my old PlayStation disc, so pardon the CD cutting in and out sometimes. It is disc like that's like, I don't know, damn near 30 years old, 20 years old. Anyway, yeah, so welcome to the first and potentially last. No, I'm just kidding. But welcome to a new segment I'm trying to work on here. I don't know how often we'll put it out, but it's called Sunday Soapbox, where GP gets on his soapbox, reminiscent of the GP Talks thing I did a couple episodes of. So anyway, this episode is going to be called Pushing Your Limits, Going to Your Edge, Living at Your Edge. It's a long title. We're workshopping around here.
Here is a wonderland.
But anyway, yeah, you know, one thing I realized it was about a month ago when I first had this idea, and I just haven't had time to do it yet, but I realized that there's this, I right now am currently a full-time worker, and I am also a full-time student, and I also do this YouTube when I have an opportunity, plus, you know, the normal life stuff, relationship, blah, 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 blah. But one thing I realized while I'm doing this, you know, getting up early on Saturdays and doing the recording and whatnot, is that I really enjoy doing it. And when I'm going to school and going to work and making progress on those fronts, I really also enjoy that too. I have a lot of fun and I get a lot of personal fulfillment from, you know, setting out to do something and then accomplishing it. And, you know, as I was thinking about this prospect, I realized that, this weapon's awesome right here, the free range weapon. It's a really unique weapon. You don't see that in a lot of games. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So, the one thing I realized is that as I have gone through doing these things, I'm working pretty hard, and I'm putting myself in a position where I feel like every night I go to bed really tired, and I wake up, you know, the next day, and sometimes I need to get a little bit motivated, but more than that though, I just feel like I'm pushing myself to do the best that I can do, and it's a really incredible feeling, to be honest, and it's something that I wasn't doing before. I used to be in the military prior to, well, I got out of the military, so January 2012 to January 2017, I was in the Navy. And, you know, that job demands a lot, but it's not necessarily the most fulfilling if what you're doing is not in alignment with your desires. So having an opportunity to do those things, or having an opportunity to fulfill my desires. First I went to college and blah 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 blah, and I always wanted to do something with YouTube. I've always wanted to do something with programming, but I've never actually done it. And I always wanted to get my college degree, but I've also got to work and wanted an engaging job. So when I put all those things together, and I fast forward to currently what I'm doing, which is all three, I find that I am, I'm grateful for the opportunity to do it. And I think that as I do it and go through it, I am really glad that I take the time to not be lazy and to, really do it, to put my best effort forth. And it's something that I don't think that a lot of people have the motivation or the realization about how it's going to be to necessarily pursue, to want something and then push for it and then achieve it. It's that could be anything. That could be going on a diet, that could be athletically reaching a new physical performance. And for me, I just want to say that if you do have an opportunity, or you have something in your mind that you've wanted to do for a long time, keep it in your mind and keep it in your heart and go and do it if you can. Don't allow negative thoughts or defeatism to set in before you've even got a chance to get started. I mean, with this whole thing that I'm doing now, I didn't know anything about video editing. I started doing this like in February. I had no knowledge of any of this. I put out a AMV for Zeta Gundam, and when I look back on it now, it's terrible, but we all had to start somewhere. And since doing it, it's like I'll wake up every weekend and be happy to do this. So and it's the same with going to school. Sometimes I sit and I'm just grinding out, learning things about XYZ. And my school's kind of interesting because to pass the class, you need to get like a commercial certification. And it's not for every class, but for the majority of them, that's the passing requirement. Is the final is the certification test. So it's kind of a pressure situation. But when you're in it and you're doing it, it feels great. It feels great when you succeed at it. And it feels good when you're making progress, so you understand something. Like I'm doing network operations, and for the longest time I've had issues with subnetting and understanding the difference between, just some little technical things, layer 2 protocol, point to point, blah, 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 a bunch of, little stuff. But, when I finally got it, I'm like, oh, all right, there you go. It's all come together now, and it just, it feels great. It feels great to be in a situation where I'm constantly making progress towards what I want to do. Putting out videos, putting out content, making the content better, hopefully, as it goes along. I've got like a mixer now, and the audio sounds better than a few months ago, and hopefully the commentary is also improved. But that's just my stuff personally. But my advice is, if you can do it, if you have an opportunity to do it, and you have something in your mind that you've wanted to do for a while, pursue it. Just do it. I mean, I've got a friend who we've talked about programming a whole bunch, and there's a game idea that we both have and would love to do, and he's like, oh, go on GML, and he's actually started doing some of it, and literally started making a program, making a game. It's all first steps, but I think he's pretty pleased with the fact that he's been able to do it. So yeah, that's the positive Sunday soapbox for the most part. A little free form, but just my thoughts on what I think is important in life is to push yourself to your limit. Don't be afraid of pushing yourself to your limit. Don't be afraid of being exhausted at the end of every day, because every day is going to be more rewarding than if you never did anything at all. That's not to say don't work yourself to exhaustion or to the point where you can't function, but if you have the capability of pursuing something, if it's within your financial means, if it's within your creative means, do it. I mean, don't allow a fear of failure or a thought of this isn't going to be good if I try it. There's already a million people doing it. Why would I do it? Don't let that into your mind. Or if it does, I mean, it's only natural for anybody to have those things in their mind, but don't let that dictate how you live your life, because it doesn't need to by any stretch. There was there's been 1,000 podcasts, and ESPN just came out with a podcast 2 years ago, a 30 for 30 podcast. That's awesome. They're a professional company, but I mean, there's so many people that do Twitch video streaming. There's so many people that make indie titles and games and things like that. I mean, those are some of my interests. But just because there's a lot of people doing it and it's something you want to do, don't let that stop you from doing what you feel like is going to be a good thing. Putting your own personal twist out there, getting your own words out there, learning video editing or whatever it is to master your creed or your process. Because literally at this point, everybody's done everything anyway. But only you can do you. That's that Saturday morning cartoon corn. But regardless of who's doing what, even real estate, I remember I have a friend who got me into thinking about doing real estate, and I haven't really pursued that because it wasn't in alignment with what I wanted to do personally. I thought it was, but it really wasn't something I had a passion for. But watching him go from having nothing to having a whole lot in terms of where he's at now, and I've also got a friend who opened up a business. There's a lot of people that are doing the same thing, but they've started to make that their life and their livelihood. And I absolutely think there's an avenue for you to make whatever you want your livelihood as well. So, anyway, that's GP Soapbox. Now time to watch me continue to fail at Thunder Force. Can you tell stage 3's the one I didn't do too much as a kid? Jesus. Anyway, you guys take it easy, and we will see you next time. See you guys. Can you believe this, boss? This guy's ridiculous. Yeah, you gotta beat this guy a ridiculous amount of times. It's insane. God. You gotta destroy this one guy 3 times. Bullshit! Take it easy, fellas.